Hello friends, my name is Jess and welcome back to my channel, Books Past Bedtime. So today, as you can probably tell by the stack of books behind me, if not for the title and thumbnail, you know, I'm going to be going through every single book that I have on my physical TBR. Now, I filmed this video maybe like a year and a half ago, but I thought I would do an updated version for 2024. So behind me is every book that I own that I have not read prior to the start of 2024. Now, I know some people like going on book buying bans. For me, it's just not something that I feel is realistic or sustainable for me. So despite the fact that I own so many unread books, that's not really in my plans. But what is in my plans is trying to read through a lot of these this year. I have really been inspired by those TikTok trends of everyone like wrapping their books up and like numbering them with a Sharpie and then drawing so many every month and like unwrapping them and reading like whatever you are randomly presented with. I would really like to try and do that on my own TikTok or Instagram or however that looks for me, or maybe just make vlogs here on YouTube if I am not feeling like branching into another platform. But I did want to make this video to record everything that is on my physical TBR before I wrap everything up. And also I thought it would be a fun thing to do to maybe like react to it at the end of the year and see how many I actually got through. This is like 2 weeks into January when I'm filming this, so I actually am happy to report I've read like 3 or 4 of the books behind me, which is awesome. So I'm excited about that, but I still included them in this pile because I didn't read them until this year. I think that's pretty much all the intro I'm going to do. I'm not going to like go into detail on any of these books. I'm basically just going to hold them up and tell you the title and the author. I do have them sorted into genre piles. So over here I have, this is probably where I'll start and we'll go that way. These are my YA contemporaries and thrillers. This is YA SFF. This is adult SFF and adult romance. And then over here I have, these are like adult fiction. This is like the tallest stack because I hardly read this genre anymore, but I have acquired a lot because I used to read it. Actually, these are probably the most. I think these are all 3 of these stacks are adult thrillers or horror. So that's definitely the most because I definitely used to read a lot of thrillers and I don't so much anymore. So they have just like overrun my bookshelves. So I need to read these. And then I have a tiny pile down here, which, oh, you can't see it. So this is like random stuff. So it's basically poetry collections, classics, and nonfiction is what this is. This tiny little stack down here. Just a random assortment of like miscellaneous things basically that didn't fit into any of the main categories behind me. I will like announce which genre I'm in when I like transition to a new genre. So at least you can know that about the book if you're interested in it. But honestly, most of these are pretty popular titles anyway. And if you have any questions about anything, like you can just comment down below. Also, I think it would be fun if you guys wanted to guess how many books that I have not read. Just throw a gander out there from what it looks like. I will give you a hint. It is more the last time I filmed this video, but it's not quite as bad as I thought it was going to be. Take with that what you will. But without further ado, let's just go ahead and get into it. Like I said, we're going to start with my YA contemporaries and thrillers. Basically any YA book that's like set in a modern world in a modern time. The first of which is Those Who Pray by Jennifer Moffat. This is a YA cult book. The Love Curse of Melody McIntyre by Robin Talley. This is a YA WLW romance. I Was Born for This by Alice Oseman. I think this is the only Alice Oseman book that I haven't read at all. So I need to get on that. Would love to make a video about Alice and all of her books. That might be something to look forward to. Monday Is Not Coming by Tiffany D. Jackson. This is a YA thriller. Sasha Masha by Agnes Berinsky. This is a middle grade with either a trans or NB main character. I can't remember which, but it deals with gender coming out in middle school. Next is Saul Kill Girls by Claire Legrand. This is another YA thriller. The Passing Playbook by Isaac Fitzsimmons. This is a MLM YA romance with trans rep as well. Spin With Me by Amy Polanski. This is a middle grade romance with a trans main character. White Smoke by Tiffany D. Jackson. This is another YA thriller. Never Kiss Your Roommate by Feline Harms. This is a YA WLW romance. Her Name in the Sky by Kelly Quinlan. Another YA contemporary with a sapphic lead. I'm not sure if it's necessarily a romance, but I do know that it does have sapphic rep in it, I'm pretty sure. When Life Gives You Mangoes by Kieran Gettin. This is a middle grade magical realism, I believe. The Firekeeper's Daughter by Angeline Jolene Booley. This is a YA mystery with a indigenous main character. The Honeys by Ryan LaSala. This is a YA horror thriller with an NB main character. Kiss and Tell by Abdi Karam. This is a YA boy band MLM romance. And then I have the second and third book in the A Good Girl's Guide to Murder series, Good Girl Bad Blood by Holly Jackson and As Good as Dead by Holly Jackson, which are YA thrillers. This is My America by Kim Johnson. This is a YA contemporary about activism and racial politics in America. The Gallery of Unfinished Girls by Lauren Karks. This is a YA magical realism, and I think that this is the one book that has been on my shelf the longest out of everything in these piles. And I have Save the Date by Morgan Matson. This is a YA contemporary romance. The Mere Season by Anna Maria McLemore. This is a YA queer contemporary with some magical realism. Hazel Bly and the Deep Blue Sea by Ashley Herring Blake. This is a WLW middle grade. And then I have these two companion books, Last Night at the Telegraph Club by Melinda Lowe and A Scatter of Light, also by Melinda Lowe. These, I think, are like, this book is about a ancestor or like grandparent of somebody in this book, I believe, perhaps. I'm not quite sure how they're related. Basically, this one is a WLW YA historical, and this is a WLW YA contemporary. I think that they're linked in some capacity though, but I'm not quite sure how. Then I have Ander and Santi We're Here by Johnny Garza Villa. This is an MLM contemporary YA romance. We Were Promised Spotlights by Lindsay Sproul. This is a WLW YA romance. And The Bridge by Bill Konigsberg. This is just a YA hard-hitting contemporary, I believe. And that are all of my YA contemporaries. And so let's move into my YA SFF books. So the first ones I have here are 2 and 3 in a series, and it's like the Arc of the Scythe series by Neil Shusterman. So I have 2, which is Thunderhead, and 3, which is The Toll. This is a YA dystopian series. The Spirit Bears His Teeth by Andrew Joseph White. This is a YA horror historical paranormal thing. I don't know. This author went to my college though, which I think is really cool, and it follows a trans main character. So big thumbs up from me. I'm excited to read this one. Then I have Girl, Serpent, Thorn by Melissa Bashardouse. This is a YA fantasy. Horrid by Katrina Leno is a YA horror magical realism. Switch by A.S. King is a middle grade sci-fi. A Curse of Roses by Diana Pingucha is a WLW YA fantasy. Spellbound by F.T. Lukens is a YA MLM fantasy. Venom and Vow by Anna Marie McLemore and Elliot McLemore is a YA fantasy with some queer rep involved. The Sunbearer Trials by Aidan Thomas. This is a YA fantasy with like Greek mythology and also Hunger Games vibes. The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab is a YA fantasy. Then I have books 1 and 2 in the Aurora cycle by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. Book number 1 is Aurora Rising, and book number 2 is Aurora Burning, and these are YA sci-fi books. Then I have books 2 and 3 in the Dreamer trilogy by Maggie Stiefvater. So book 2 is Mr. Impossible, and book 3 is Grey Warren. I can't talk. And these are YA magical realism kind of. And I have Blanca y Roja by Anna Marie McLemore. This is another YA magical realism. Yoke by Mary H.K. Choi got put into the wrong pile. This is actually a YA hard-hitting contemporary. Girl from the Sea by Molly Knox Ostertag is a middle grade graphic novel about mermaids, and I think it's WLW. And then finally I have the entire Last Hour series by Cassandra Clare. Have not read any of these somehow, I'm not sure. But the first one is Chain of Gold, the second is Chain of Iron, and the third is Chain of Thorns. And this is like the most recent of her completed trilogies in the Shadowhunters world, which are YA fantasies if somehow you're living under a rock. Let's tackle my adult fantasy pile now. The first of which is A Middle Game by Seanan McGuire. This is adult fantasy, I know nothing about it. A Power Unbound by Freya Marks. This is the third and final book in the Last Binding trilogy, which is a queer historical fantasy series and one of my favorite series that I've read. And this is one of the books that I have already finished and already read, and I loved it. It was 5 stars. A Market of Dreams and Destiny by Trip Gailey. This is an MLM fantasy romance. The Jasmine Throne by Tasha Suri. This is a WLW fantasy romance. The Ruthless Lady's Guide to Wizardry by C.M. Wagoner. This is a WLW historical fantasy. Hero the Ninth by Tamsin Muir. This is the second book and follow-up to Gideon the Ninth that I read in the fall of last year, and I really loved it, so I'm excited to continue with this series. This is a WLW sci-fi. A Taste of Gold and Iron by Alexandra Rowland. This is a MLM fantasy romance. Book of Night by Holly Black. This is a paranormal fantasy. Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. I'm actually not really sure if this is the right genre for this one to be in, but it felt right. Into the Drowning Deep by Mira Grant. This is a fantasy horror about mermaids, I believe. The Lost Apothecary by Sarah Penner. I think that this is like a historical fantasy witchy feminist Sora book. Ink Blood Sister Scribe by Emma Torks. This is a, I think, feminist fantasy, and it also is a book about books. If you're doing a reading challenge like me and need a book like that to fill a prompt, this is what I'm going to be reading. This is How You Lose the Time War by Max Gladstone and Amal El-Motar. This is a WLW sci-fi. Dark Rise by C.S. Picot. This is a, honestly might be YA or new adult, but it's an MLM fantasy romance. And Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldry. This is last but not least in this category and is a WLW fantasy paranormal romance, cozy fantasy, I believe. I feel like I should like put my piles back together so you can kind of like see them. It makes the background more interesting. Please hold. That's maybe a little better. Okay, let's continue. My next pile here is adult romance. Let's see if I can... That looks very precarious. First, I have If You Love Something by Jace Ellis. This is a MLM Second Chance contemporary romance. These are all contemporary romance. I'm going to stop saying that. Satisfaction Guaranteed by Carolina Stets Waters. This is a WLW romance. Love at First Sight by Jennifer Dugan, another WLW romance. Paris Dealincourt is About to Crumble by Alexis Hall. This is a MLM romance set on a set of like the Great British Baking Show. In the Event of Love by Courtney Kay is a WLW Christmas romance. Iris Kelly Doesn't Date by Ashley Herring Blake is the third book in the Bright Falls series, which is like a companion contemporary romance series involving this group of queer friends, and it's lovely and beautiful, and I have read this one, don't worry. Just took me until the beginning of January, but it was fabulous, a great conclusion to the series. I really loved both Iris and Stevie. The Fiancé Farce by Alexandria Bellafleur. This is a WLW romance, fake dating, fake marriage trope happening. Out of Character by Annabeth Albert. This is an MLM romance. The Layover by Lacey Walden, which is a book I picked up because it was written by a flight attendant and it's just a regular straight people romance. The Romantic Agenda by Claire Kahn, which is a romance that follows an asexual main character and has the fake dating trope. A Lady for a Duke by Alexis Hall. This is a Regency romance, so not necessarily contemporary, but no magic, and it follows a trans main character. Time to Shine by Rachel Reed. It's a book that I must have gotten wet at some point, but this is an MLM Christmas romance. The Spare by Miranda Dubner. As you can see, I have started this one. There's a lot of books in this pile that are half started, but this is an MLM romance where one is royalty and the other is his bodyguard. Sizzle Reel by Carolyn Greenwald. This is a WLW romance. How to Bite Your Neighbor and Win a Wager by D.N. Bryn is a paranormal romance, but I think it's set in a contemporary world, so that's why I added it to this pile, because it probably really doesn't matter that much that they're vampires. It probably just mostly matters that it's an MLM romance. With Love from Cold World by Alicia Thompson. I don't know why, but this book, this cover, I just love it so much. And I'm so excited to read this book, even though it's between a man and a woman, but they're both bi, so it is a queer romance. And I think it just sounds so cute. They work together in a bookstore in Florida called Cold World. I'm so excited to read this one. I want to read it right now. The Feeling of Falling in Love by Mason Deaver. This is an MLM romance. Yerba Buena by Nina LaCour. This might fit better in the adult, like, contemporary fiction category, but it does have a WLW romance in it as far as I know, so that's why I put it in this pile. Kind of could be either, I think. I think it is more literary though than the tone of some of these other ones. Blackwater by Jeanette Arroyo and Ren Graham. This is a graphic novel. It's in black and white, apparently. It's really cute. But I think it's an MLM romance, maybe like a bit of a mystery. 10 Things That Never Happened by Alexis Hall, another MLM romance. Love on the Brain by Allie Hazelwood, a regular schmegular romance. I have books 2 and 3, I believe, in this Payback's a Witch series, so I think 2 is Back in a Spell and 3 is From Bad to Cursed, although I could have them mixed up and there's nothing on there that says which is which. But these are just like witchy WLW romances. And that is all the adult contemporary romance that I have on my TBR. That stack I read the most of, and so I do tend to go through those, but I do have some that I still have to get to. Alright, the next pile are adult contemporary lit fic kind of things. First, I have The Swallows by Lisa Letts. I believe this takes place in a school and is like feminist. This is probably the pile that I'm gonna know the least about, to be honest. City of Fire by Garth Risk Holzberg. This is also one of the books that I've probably had the longest, and I like just picked it up on a whim from a thrift store, but I like can't get myself to get rid of it. It's also really heavy. The literally is probably 10 pounds. The Final Revival of Opal and Nev by Donnie Walton. Everything I Never Told You by Celeste Ng. This Anne Boleyn Berlin book by Evelyn Anthony. I actually bought this from my friend and then like never gave it to her, so I figured I would maybe read it first and then give it to her since I've had it for like 3 years and never gifted it to her, so sorry Caitlin. Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid, Outlawed by Anna North, Infinite Country by Patricia Engel, The Great Alone by Kristen Hanna, Love in the Big City by Sang-Young Park, Man Called Ove by Frederick Bachman, Ring Shout by P. Deji Clark, Big Little Lies by Leanne Moriarty, The Incendiaries by R.O. Kwan, Inland by Taya O'Brait, Where'd You Go Bernadette by Maria Semple, Queerly Beloved by Susie Drummond, which honestly probably could have gone in the adult romance category, but I have heard that it's more chick lit than adult romance, but it does have a WLW like relationship in it, so I don't know, I feel like this one is beyond categorization. Normal People by Sally Rooney, After Parties by Anthony Basenasso, The Comeback by Ella Berman, The Prophets by Robert Jones Jr., A Woman Is No Man by Etef Rum, Betty by Tiffany McDaniel, Black Cake by Charmaine Wilkerson, Once There Were Wolves by Charlotte McConaughey, Detransition Baby by Tori Peters, A History of Wild Places by Shay Earnshaw, Velvet Was the Night by Sylvia Moreno Garcia, Babel by R.F. Kwong, The Four Winds by Kristen Hanna, The Wonder by Emma Donahue, and last but not least, The Last Tutor by Philippa Gregory. Alright, those are all of my adult contemporary or lit fic books. I'm gonna do my little pile of random things and then we can just dive into all of the freaking thrillers that I have. Okay, I have one poetry collection and that is Night Sky with Exit Wounds by Ocean Vuong. And then I have like 4 classics. I have Sense and Sensibility by Jane Austen. I have this Penguin Classics edition of the science fiction of Edgar Allan Poe. I went to like the Edgar Allan Poe Museum in Richmond a couple months ago and I just really was like fascinated and I was like, oh, I want to read more Edgar Allan Poe. So I like bought this because I thought his science fiction stories were cool and he basically like invented science fiction. So I was like, I need to read that. And then I also bought this really super cool edition of The Raven and Other Stories by Edgar Allan Poe, and this one included like a lot of the stories that the museum talked about that I was particularly interested in, so that's why I got this one. It has like all of its like classic stuff in it. Also, this is just like the coolest freaking edition with these black sprayed pages and this raven on it. And I also bought The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson because this is like a queer horror classic with a WLW romance in it. Obviously there's that TV show that they made, but I haven't watched the TV show and I wanted to read the book, so I bought it because it matched this one. Alright, those are all the classics I have, and then I have a couple nonfiction. The first of which is Cultish by Amanda Montell. This is kind of what it sounds like. It's nonfiction about like the cult mentality in America and how we treat hobbies and passions and things like they're a cult. And it's also about the language that's used in advertising and ways to condition our minds, all that kind of stuff. Might be too smart for me, but I think it sounds really cool. And I really like Amanda Montell's podcast. So a little less serious is Queer Ducks and Other Animals by Elliot Schaefer. This is like a really cute like picture book kind of exploring the sexuality of animals and how the argument that everyone is straight in nature, like that straight is natural, is not true. And that explores that and looking at animals who just exist in nature without societal influences created by humans, you know? Then I have Lady Killers by Tora Tefler, and this is all about female serial killers. My Body by Emily Ratajkowski. This is basically just a memoir by her. My Friend Anna by Rachel Deloche Williams is a story of Anna, what's-her-face, who scammed everyone into thinking she was an heiress. I have Paris, the memoir, because I love Paris Hilton. And last but not least, I have Ace, What Asexuality Reveals About Desire, Society, and the Meaning of Sex by Angela Chen. This is definitely high on my TBR this year. I've had this for like 2 years now and I don't know why I haven't gotten to it yet. I just don't reach for nonfiction, but I really want to read this in particular this year. Okay, and that is everything. Now we just have the daunting simple 3 piles of thrillers over here to go through. I'm definitely not going to give synopses for these because they're all mystery thrillers. Like there's not really that much to learn about them through a synopsis, you know? But I think I will differentiate if it's a mystery, if it's a thriller, or if it's horror, just so you have more of a general, like, specific idea of the subgenre. Rambled enough. I'm just procrastinating. Let's get into it. I have Breathless by Amy McCulloch. This is a thriller. Local Woman Missing by Mary Kubica. I have heard that this one is more of a mystery. When the Stars Go Dark by Paula McLean, I believe, is a thriller. What Lies in the Woods by Kate Alice Marshall is a thriller. House of Leaves by Mark Danielewski. This is another one of the heaviest books that I own, and I believe it's more horror, but it is like a mixed media, choose your own adventure kind of story. I'm so like interested in this, but so intimidated by it, but maybe 2024 is finally the year to tackle this bad boy. Daisy Darker by Alice Feeney is a thriller. Hostage by Claire McIntosh is also a thriller. Plain Bad Heroines by Emily M. Danforth is a horror book with some queer rep, I might add, some WLW rep. Never Saw Me Coming by Vera Kirian is a thriller. I think Dark Academia maybe. The Missing Years by Lexi Elliott is a thriller. The Outsider by Stephen King is more horror, I believe. Writing Retreat by Julia Bartz is a thriller. I'm Thinking of Ending Things by Ian Reid, I think is more horror. The Cherry Robbers by Sarai Walker. I think this is almost kind of like a lit fic thriller, kind of like a combo between the two. I think it's kind of like a family saga, but also thrillery mystery-ish. Reckless Girls by Rachel Hawkins is a thriller. The Last Housewife by Ashley Winstead is another thriller with, I think, like a literary kind of twist, a deeper look into feminism. I think it goes beyond like a simple, purely for entertainment thriller. I think that this is one you sit with and think about a little bit more. Leave the World Behind by Ruman Alam. This is a thriller. Upgrade by Blake Crouch, I believe, is a, I kind of thought maybe that this was a sequel to Dark Matter, but I don't think it is. I think it's just similar. I think it's like a sci-fi thriller. The Hunting Party by Lucy Foley is a thriller. Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn is like the original thriller. Couple Next Door by Sherry Lapina. This is a domestic thriller. Then She Was Gone by Lisa Jewell is another domestic thriller. Fear of the Witching by Alexis Henderson is like a historical horror, I believe, like set in Salem witch trial eras. The Perfect Stranger by Megan Miranda is a domestic thriller. The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle is a mystery. Camp Damascus by Chuck Tingle is a queer horror book set in a conversion therapy camp. The Last Flight by Julie Clark is a thriller. These Violent Delights by Micah Neveremmer is a dark academia MLM horror, I think, mystery sort of thing. Sleeping Beauties by Stephen King is, I think, like part fantasy, part horror. All the Sinners Bleed by S.A. Cosby is a crime thriller. Oh my god, these books just fell on me. Glad that wasn't a bigger stack. This probably should have been in the nonfiction category. This is American Cult. Who's this by? There's literally not an author on it. It was edited by Robin Chapman and Avi Elric. I think it's like a compilation. It probably has a couple different authors, but basically it is a graphic novel about America's cults, and all of like the religious cults that have existed in America. Is basically what this is. Girl A by Abigail Dean, I believe, is a like kidnapping thriller. The Hacienda by Isabel Canas is a horror book, I think. We Were Never Here by Andrea Bartz is a thriller. The Maid by Nita Prose is a mystery with an autistic main character. The Paris Apartment by Lucy Foley is a thriller. The Collective by Allison Galen is a thriller. How to Sell a Haunted House by Grady Hendrix is, I believe, a haunted house horror book. Alright, this is the final stack. Are you excited? I'm excited. Drive Your Plow Over the Bones of the Dead by Olga Tokarczuk, I think is how you say it. This is a mystery. It follows a like elderly woman lead, which is fun. The Woman in Cabin 10 by Ruth Ware is a mystery thriller. Sharp Objects by Gillian Flynn is a thriller. The Amityville Horror by Jay Anson. This I think it's novelized, but it's like based on a true story, so I don't know if it's nonfiction or not technically, but I think it isn't like a novelized version of the real events that happened in Amityville, which I think is in Long Island. Yeah, it's in Long Island, which is very close to where I live. Literally right across the water. Deadly Nights on the Island by Michael Chiricella is a book that my friend Nick gave me and I know nothing about. I think it might be by a local author. Not sure. The Last Houseguest by Megan Miranda is a domestic thriller. Everything We Didn't Say by Nicole Bart is also a domestic thriller. The Night She Disappeared by Lisa Jewell is a thriller. The Neighbor's Secret by L. Allison Heller is a domestic thriller. The Institute by Stephen King is a horror novel. The Only One Left by Riley Sager is a thriller. The Last Widow by Karen Slaughter is another thriller. Another Fall, Sundial by Catronia Ward, I believe is horror. Her books are kind of genre bending though, so it might be like a mixture. A Good Marriage by Kimberly McCreet. This is one of the first books I got from Book of the Month. It's been on my shelves forever. It's a domestic thriller. The Whisperer by Donato Carisi is a crime thriller. The Book Book of Cold Cases by Simone St. James is another crime thriller. Pretty Little Wife by Darby Kane is a domestic thriller. The Kept Woman by Karen Slaughter is a thriller. False Witness by Karen Slaughter is another thriller. And The It Girl by Ruth Ware is, last but not least, the final book that I have to talk about. And this is, I think, maybe a domestic thriller. It's kind of like a rich people thriller, you know, I think is what it is. But yeah, those are all of the books that I own physically that I have not read yet. Let me know what your guesses are for how many books there were in the comments down below. But I will reveal how many there were right now. There were 188 books that I own that I haven't read yet, which is crazy. Last time I filmed this, I think I had like 153, and that was, like I said, a year and a half ago. I think a lot of the books from that video are still here. I'm not actually sure how many. That makes me sad. I definitely want to either like read through some of these books or unhaul them if I really don't think I'm gonna read them. But I have like gone through and culled my shelves, but these are books that I still like find myself interested in and like think I might be in the mood to read one day. So I think it's just a matter of like picking them up, you know, rather than other things. Those are all the books that I have unread on my shelves. Let me know if you guessed right, and if not. I was kind of surprised that I had under 200 books unread, honestly, and I'm kind of glad that I have under 200 books. And like I said, I've already definitely read 3 of these, and I am like halfway through 2 more, so I'm making progress. I'll bet slowly but surely. That is all from me today. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate you being here. If you did enjoy my video, subscribe for more content from me and like this video. It really helps me and my channel out, as is leaving any kind of comment down below. You can check out my other social media. Those links are in the description. And that's all from me today. So thank you so much for watching and being here and spending time with me, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.